All right, so the first part is you're going to group your imps.
All right.
So
I'm going to grab a board here. We're going to pretend, I'm going to set this in front of the camera again. We're going to pretend that blue went first, so they would have 3 to start the first round.
All right. So when you do the grouping of the imps, players are secretly going to group their imps, and you can add gold. The largest group needs to be to the left, and you cannot just send gold by itself. You have to have an imp to spend the gold. You can have less than 6 groups because there are 6 exits.
Yep.
And your group size is your imps plus your gold.
That's
so
correct.
Right now, if Mickey was doing his turn, he would put up his little visor so nobody could see anything.
Nobody could see. And then I'd have my imps. And then I would group them like Jeb was talking about. And also, just to note, as Jeb said, there's 6 there. These don't, the size of them really don't make a difference. That's just for looks.
I think it's
it's to remind you that your groups need to be, because you're going to do comparisons, so you don't want to be trying to hunt for whichever your biggest group. You want to know that your biggest group is on this side, your smallest group is on this side. Like he said, you group them together however you want. We'll go 2, and we'll go 1 and 1. And if we do a gold here, just for, let's do this for a better example. Alright.
Alright, so as Mickey did, he has a group of 3 here, which is 2 imps and a money. Then a group of 3, which is 1 imp and 2 money. Group of 2, group of 1. So that's how he's playing his turn. So that's the grouping part.
You also don't have to do everything.
Yeah,
you can leave stuff down there because they actually have abilities if you don't end up putting them on the board. The other thing is important to note is that once it comes around for your turn to go out and go to shop, you don't have to. You can be like, nah, I'm just going to stay. So you can group everything to be safe because you don't have to go shopping, or if you know you're not going to, you can just leave it there. However you want to do it. Also important to note that if you decide not to shop with like this guy with the gold, you do keep your gold too. If it gets placed, the gold's going away, whether bad or good or whatever.
Okay, so that's for grouping. The next part is choosing actions. So the way this works is everyone's going to put down their little visors, and you are going to determine who has the biggest group, and the biggest group is going to go first. And the way that works is you find the player with the biggest group, and it is sent shopping. If there is a tie, you take turns going clockwise from the start player. So if Mickey was the only one with 3, he would be the only one sending his groups of 3 out. If me and Mickey had 3, then if he was starting player, he would send his group of 3 first, and I would. So it's tiebreakers like that. If you have multiple groups, so Mickey had 2 groups of 3 and I had 1, Mickey would send his, then I would send mine, and then back to Mickey to send his other group of 3.
Or if I had 2 groups of 3 and nobody had groups of 3, I'd get to go twice.
Yep.
So I think you guys get the idea. And what Jeb means by going shopping is to actually place in one of the spots on the board. So there are little squares for the pets, they're here. For the cages, they're here. For the upgrades, it's here. For the exhibition, it's here. For the hospital, it's here. For the platform, it's here. I forget what this is called, but this is how you get your extra imps. Yeah, but I forget what they call it. That's how you're going to get your extra imps.
Inviting new imps.
Inviting new imp space. And the market spaces, the artifact spaces. So those are spaces, I know we haven't talked about them in depth yet, but just so that you know when he's talking about going shopping, literally means placing whatever you had in the group on one of those spaces.
And then back to the order of groups. So we did our groups of 3. After that completes, we would look at everyone who has groups of 2, do the same thing in groups of 1, whatever. So until everything in everybody's exits have been either sent out shopping or sent back home. Which I guess was what I was going to say. When it's your turn, you can decide to either send the group to buy something, and that's choosing an unoccupied space on the board.
So if I wanted the vegetables, I could go there, and everybody would stand there, and now nobody can use that space.
Yep, and it says
This goes to the bank.
Yeah. And then after you put the person there,
You do the action.
the gold goes to the bank, perform the action, and the imps will stay there till the end of the round.
Great.
And if you don't decide to send the person shopping, all you do is just move them back to their little headquarters in your house. So the first thing is getting food.
Okay, so, which is an example of what I had. Any of these spaces, place your group. If your group had any gold, put that in the bank, and then take whatever's in the market.
And the food would go to the corresponding
space on your board. So either the leftmost space of the vegetables or the leftmost space of the meat.
Next is getting artifacts.
The artifacts is the blue space. And I think earlier in the game I had talked about choosing ones. I am 100% wrong on that. You actually do get both artifacts, and they would go into your burrow, into your little chamber. Any gold that you spent would go back.
All right. The next thing is choosing a cage.
Okay, the cage spots is over here. Notice on the 2 cage spots, so 2 people can do this if they want, that there are a picture of 2 imps. That's a reminder that 1 imp cannot carry a cage.
Yep.
It takes 2 imps to carry a cage.
It takes 2, baby.
So you have to put 2 imps down here, or there has to be at least 2 imps in your group because gold can't carry a cage. So it doesn't matter how big your group is. If you don't have 2 imps, you're not getting a cage.
And after the cages are choosing an add-on.
Add-on space is right there. It's just the 1 spot, and then you choose the add-on that you'd like.
After that is buying a pet.
The pet space is also a unique space. Notice that there is an imp and a gold, indicating that you need an imp and you need a gold. So you can't just show up with gold, and you can't
trade an imp for a pet. They don't like that.
That's right. And you must have at least one gold in that group. So when you're plotting, remember that if you're planning on getting a pet, make sure one of your groups got gold in it. Same for the level 3 one, except there's only 1 spot. So if there's a pet in there that you really want, plan accordingly.
Next is inviting new imps.
Inviting new imps is this spot down here. This is an interesting little number here. So if you place your group here, what happens is you look at the progress board and you see what round it is, and then you take the imp on that round and any imps of your color that are still in previous rounds.
Yep.
So if I didn't use that space in 1 and I decided to use it in 2, can you see my hand?
Yeah, you can see the fingers.
Alright, so you would take the round 2 imp and the round 1 imp. If you waited all the way to round 4 to do it, you would clear the board and you would get all of them. And they immediately go into your burrow, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think you can use them this turn.
Well, they would be able to do the end stuff.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry. After inviting imps is visiting the hospital.
Okay.
So that space is right here. Only 1 person can do that per round.
Yep.
When you place your imps there, or imp, whatever, you will draw 1 card from the hospital, and you will take out any imps from the hospital.
So
and
imps go here when they get hurt.
Yeah, because they can get hurt.
Oh no.
Yeah, taking care of pets is a dangerous job.
It is.
And then there is the volunteering for judging space,
Which is over here on the exhibition track.
And
so what happens there is you place 1, and then this automatically, it's a +2, so it automatically goes to the 2 space. So you're automatically ahead in that, which it
not
could,
fixing that show at all, are
could
you?
could be very good. Important note about it, I think we mentioned it real quick before,
Yeah.
but potions are all the same, and they're a wild card. So when you have to meet the needs of your pet, it will meet the need of whatever you used.
All right, and then the last space you can go is the booking time on the platform, which is down here.
Okay.
And for that, I'll let you.
Okay. So, booking time on the platform. The rulebook actually says this is one of the most complicated parts. I actually don't think it is the most complicated part, actually, in my opinion. So, when you go to sell pets, you can either sell on the black market, or you can sell from a platform. If you sell from the platform, you get a ×3 bonus or whatever your score is. If you sell from the black market, you get ×2. So it's always kind of better to sell from the platform if you can. But you might want to wait. You don't have to, but you might want to wait for a later turn. So if I put the imps on the platform, I guess this is why it's a little different, because at the end of the round, the imps, if you don't end up using one this turn, they slide over and they wait. So they will sit there until you use them. And the way they get used is when you buy a pet, you announce, I'm going to use an imp from the platform. You take an imp and you get the ×3 bonus. The important thing to remember is that they are stuck there until you sell a pet.
Yep.
And announce that you're using it from the platform.
Yep.
So basically, again, yeah, be careful. It's good to have them over there, but they're stuck. And people might be rushing to get them at certain points, and remember, there's only one spot to stand during that round.
Yep.
Now, if it was a later round, there might be somebody already standing over here. Doesn't matter. Once it gets to the point where it's time to slide them over, you just slide them over. Everybody can stand there. Yep. It's just important to remember that they're stuck there until you use them. So that's the mechanic. It's take up the spot. You can use it that turn if you want to. Anything you didn't use, slide over, wait until you're ready to use it.
And that is all the spaces that you can put your imps. So that's the end of phase 2, is once everybody places all their guys and do their actions. Phase 3 are the need cards. And the way this works is, right now is your last chance to arrange all your cages and pets that you bought in the previous round. So in the previous round you could just put them wherever if you wanted to, but right now is the final chance to arrange it how you want your little pet zone to look like.
Only one pet per cage.
Yep. When you move a pet, you move everything except the manure that's in it.
Yeah, you can move them around from cage to cage, but you have to leave the manure.
Yep. Releasing pets count as losing pets, and if you lose a pet, you will lose 1 point for every 10 points that you have. So you don't want to lose a pet. So after you arrange all your cages and pets is the drawing need cards, and for that, for each revealed colored bar on your pet, you will draw need cards. So if Mickey owned little dude,
if I own him, well, during the game we'll have to look up the pets because they got funny little names. I would draw a green and a yellow card and add them to my hand. Remember, I already have 4 to start with. And if I had both of these pets, I would draw 2 green, 1 yellow, 1 red, and 1 purple.
Yeah. So everybody will do that simultaneously. And then the last part of this phase is assign cards to pets. So you must assign an equal number and color of the need cards to your pets face down. It's the center symbol that we're playing with, and potions can replace the need card of that color. So if Mickey had just that guy in his hand, he would have to look for a green and a yellow, and then put them face down next
in order.
Yeah.
So you arrange it. Oh, I'm going to put this down for a second. We're going to say that I'm using the green and the yellow. So remember, I have a hand of one of each, and then I draw these. But we're going to pretend I looked at everything, and these are the ones that I'm going to use. So my green card is first, and then my yellow card goes like that. I place it face down like that until it's time to reveal. When I reveal it, notice that, is that the green is first. I have to do that first. and then the yellow is second, and I have to check that second. And I'm gonna go ahead and put him in just that cage or whatever, just so we can
Show it.
Show it. Yep.
You can actually put him over here in that Kim's cage.
Okay.
Because we can see that cage.
We can. All right. Put that there. And this is.
Yep. All right. So once everybody does that, that's the end of phase 3. So phase 4 is showing off. This is broken down into, the first thing is evaluate the needs.
Basically, what you're doing is you're going over here and you are looking and you're saying, here's the needs of my pet, and then you have to do them.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So the green one, I got a green one that was poop. I didn't have any other choice. I was actually hoping for hunger because I had some meat and I was going to feed him and care of it. But the way poop works is you put a poop in the cage.
All right. So I guess we'll start with the hunger needs. So whatever the hunger need is, you need to satisfy that need.
Right.
If you can't, then you're going to get a suffering.
That is a hunger.
So
if we assumed that this was a hunger on this pet, notice he eats the meat, I have to supply him with one meat from my supply. If I can't do that, like Jeb said, I have to place a suffering token on my pet. That's how that works.
Yep. A quick thing for suffering tokens, if the number of tokens exceed the size of the pet, it dies.
Yep.
Mickey already talked about the poop cards, where you will add a poop if you see the poop. There is a way to reduce it. There are some. Let
me show you one. There are some cages that you can buy that actually supply a need. So this has a herbivore mark and a poop mark. So if the pet was sitting in this cage and the need was a poop, this cage sucks up one poop. So you basically could put a free poop card down for that need.
Yep.
Same with the herbivore food requirement. He would just automatically get a green requirement taken care of. That's how those work. There is also the same thing with
the
play, and there's also the same thing with, there is no
meat one.
Oh, there's no meat one. They must be on the upgrades. I didn't see any anyways.
All right. So the next thing is the play cards. If your play need is what you have to satisfy, it must have an imp or a play symbol, or else it's going to get a suffering. That's what a play card looks. It's like a ball of yarn.
Yep.
Imps can play with 2 pets at once, and what that means is at some point you're able to put imps on this.
During this phase, like when you're at the same time as you're doing the supplies, you're allowed to place your imps. So if I need to satisfy a play need, I take an imp from my supply and place it between which 2 cages I want. So in this case, he would be satisfying one play need, it's important to note, on each side. Even though he can do 2, he can't do 2 to 1 cage. So if this was empty, he's not supplying 2 play needs to this. Okay? And same thing here, he can do either of those like that.
Okay. Anger cards will compare to the cage strength.
That's an anger card with the big vicious teeth.
If you have more anger than the strength of the cage, it is an escape attempt. And if that happens, you can use an imp, which sends them to the hospital, or it escapes.
Right. Okay, so what Jeb just said was, if you get an anger, if this has an anger need, say that we had a pet, and you had to put down the anger card, whatever cage it was in, we'd look at this number, and we would say, oh, how many angers do I have? In that case, we only had 1. This is a strength 2. We're fine. We supplied it. But let's say that we put down 3 anger cards, and the pet was in this cage. Because remember, as they get bigger, you have to draw more cards, so you could end up having that many. And we only have a strength 2 cage. So at this point, the pet is too strong for the cage. We have 2 options. You just let him escape, and then that counts as losing a pet, so you're going to lose at least a point.
Yeah.
All right. The other option is you can take an imp, and you can place it on the number, and it adds a +1 to the level of the cage. And that can stop, in this situation, the level 3 from escaping. But what happens is he stays in the cage, but the imp goes to the hospital.
Yep.
And I believe that you may put as many imps as you want to satisfy it, but they'll all go to the
hospital.
To the hospital.
Next are magic cards. So if you have magic needs, you will compare it to the anti-magic of the cage. If it's greater than the anti-magic number, you get a mutate token. And if you have 2 mutate tokens on your pet,
it disappears into another dimension.
Yep, and that counts as losing. So,
okay. Pet, if I have a magic need, it has a magic level 1. Oh, look, it's good. If I had 2 of these down here, he would mutate. So again, if I had 2 magic needs, this is only a level 1, I would take a mutation token and put it on the pet.
Yep. Next are disease cards. Disease cards are added to poops. You have 2.
These are bad.
Yeah.
Alright, so if you have to place that, Jeb's going to tell you what happens right now.
They're added to poops. If 2 or less, nothing happens. If 3 or more, you get 1 suffering plus how many over 3 that it is. So if
Alright, so let's make this a little
example.
Let's make this visual for you guys. Alright, so in the case of our pet right now, 1 poop already in the cage, and let's pretend, I know we don't have a purple, but let's pretend that this guy did have a purple, and he got, or, because I'm using purple card.
Yeah.
Suffering can be any of the piles. So let's pretend that this guy got a suffering. So like Jeb said, 1 poop, 1 suffering equals 2. Pet is safe.
Yep.
Okay? Uh-oh. He had to have 2 sufferings put on him because remember you have to play the cards no matter what.
Yeah.
So you got a bad thing. Oops. So now we have 1 poop, 2 sufferings, we equal 3. So if you paid attention to what he said, because you are over, you automatically take 1. And then we look and we count how many over the 2 we are. So we're 3, so we're 1 over. That counts as another 1.
Yep.
So, Jeb, if I had 1 more, what would happen?
So in this case, if there are 2 poops and there are 2 poops and 2 diseases, that's a total of 4. So for that, you would get 1 for being over.
1 more.
Right, one for being over, and then since it's 4 minus 2, you get 2 extra. So you'd get.
And guess what? If it was on that pet, look what level he is.
He's level 2,
and he
3 suffering.
Boom,
he's gone.
If you were just real quick back to the suffering, if you notice, poop doesn't really come into play except for this. So you can actually let a cage
with no purple
get with no if you want to take a chance,
yeah,
you can make the pet live in a pile of poop. But if you get a suffering and you can't cover it,
you're out of
out.
All right, and then the potion cards. If you have one of those in hand, what you would do is replace one of your cards over here with the potion card. And
well, you do that during the.
Oh, you do it when you said.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's taking care of all the cards. So everybody will do that. Once everyone
it's just important to remember, and that's another reason why you put the stuff in order, because you have to discard whatever. You have to always discard to your hand limit at the end. We're going to get to, Jeb is going to talk about this again, but since he's talking about the potion, it's important to put it in the right place, because you have to discard down whatever color that represented. So you're going to end up getting rid of one of the cards that you didn't use.
Yep. All right, so after all the needs are evaluated, you're going to do scoring in exhibition. And what that is the top left means if it's a single or a full display.
Yep. So you look over, there is no exhibition in the first round. But once you get to one, notice how there's a 4 here. That means it's all your pets.
Yeah. Either full display or single, depending on that. The light frame is positive and the dark is negative. So on that one, there is a light frame around...
And no bad stuff.
Yeah, the light frame's around, what is that, the magic?
Yep.
All right.
So basically that exhibition is for every magic need of a pet that still exists that you satisfied, you get a point.
Yep. And then if it was in a black one, you'd lose point.
That would be a bad one. That would mean for every suffering that you had, you'd lose a point.
Yeah. And
notice how some of them have multipliers. So that would have been every hunger need that you satisfied, you would have got a plus or a ×2 on whatever your score was.
All right. So if it's a single pet, you would just pick one and do that. If it's everybody, you would do that for all of them to get a final score.
Yep.
And then the last part of this is comparing the results. So if your exhibition score is 0, you're not participating, so you're out. Then the points that you got from your exhibition...
Compare against the players is what he's talking about right now.
Yeah.
So in this example, if Kim had 2 points of magic, Jeb had 3 points of magic, and I had no points of magic, my guy, assuming I didn't use this spot, is going to stay right there.
Yeah.
Jeb used, he won, because he had 3 and Kim had 2. So Jeb, if you look at the little imp here, you've got first place. So you get,
what you would do is my guy would move up to the 3,
sorry.
Kim's would move up to the 2, and Mickey's would be at 0.
I jumped ahead of myself. He's right. This moves how many points, because there's ways you can manipulate that, and then you look at who won.
Then you compare. So you must have a pet for a single exhibition. Ties get the score -1 for each other tire. So if Kim and I tied in first place, we would get, I guess, I don't know if you mentioned that, these are the scores. Mm-hmm. So if first place gets the 8, second gets 6, third 4, and fourth gets 2. So if Kim and I tied in first, we would get the score -1 for each other player. So that would be 8 minus 1, because it's just one other player. So Kim and I would get 7 points instead of one of us getting 8.
Yep.
So that's how you would get the points from that. And when you get those points, that it translates to the points on the
track.
The reputation track. Mm-hmm. So if I got the 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I might have skipped a few.
Yeah, because they got smaller. That's all right.
All right. And then remove the exhibition tile once all the points are scored. So Mickey would just take that, nothing in the first, and then that's gone. So that's it for Phase 4 of showing off. Phase 5 is the business, which the first part is selling a pet. So selling a pet can only you can only sell a pet beginning with round 3, and you're only able to sell 1 pet per player. The size must be 4 or greater when you sell a pet.
One of the reasons why the customers don't even come along until round 3.
The score that you get from the buying has to be a positive. It has to be greater than 0, or else you can't sell the pet. I guess we should talk about the customer.
Okay, so let's pretend I'm just going to say that I have a level 4 or higher pet. Okay, and we're in round 3. This is the guy that I can sell to. So,
Oh, yeah.
all right. So what I do is I look at the pet that I want to sell, and remember, we've already gone through the requirement, the needs phase, okay? First, I would look for my disease requirements. Now, he's a rainbow one instead of just the regular color of disease. So for each different colored disease on that pet that I'm trying to sell him, I get 3 points. So if I had 3 cards, I'd get times 3, I would get a 9. If I had 2, I would get a 6. If I just had 1, I would get the 3. So for each disease, different colored disease card, I get 3 points. Right? And then for every strength need, I would get 1 point. That's why there's no multiplier by that. So these are the good ones. So let's say I had 2 different colored diseases, and I had 1 of that. I would have 6, 7 points, right? If you don't understand what I mean by the different colored ones, it literally means a red card disease.
There we go, a purple.
That's what I have to have. If I had another purple, I don't get any more points. It's for each different colored. The maximum you could possibly have on a pet would be
4.
yeah, so you would get a 12. That would be a huge score. It would be a 12. But anyways, so you get the gist. Let's pretend I had 2 again. So 6 plus 1 is 7. Now, if that pet had any hunger
or
suffering, they would be -1 because they're in the dark section. I total those up, whatever the difference was, and as long as it's positive, this guy will buy that pet. Make sense?
Yeah.
Alright. So, then I take the pet, whatever it was, oh look, a little penguin guy, whatever level he was, let's say he was way up there. He goes away, he gets discarded, and I get whatever the value of the pet is over there in coins. This guy's 3.
Yeah.
So I'd get 3 money, and I don't know if I get anything else.
There's the black market multiplier or
that's
the
right.
stage multiplier, depending on how you sell.
So, let's say I took a penalty on both of those, just 1. So I had 6, 7, and then I subtracted 2, I had a 5. Remember, when I'm selling, like Jeb said, I either announce that I'm selling from the platform and I remove an imp, and I multiply the 5 times the 3, I get 15 to move around the board, or I would get 10 if I didn't use an imp from the platform.
Yeah.
I'd move 10. And then I get the gold from however much he's worth. That's how you sell a pet.
A mutation on a pet is -2 gold, so you can pay 1 gold. If you have a mutation on a pet and he's worth 1 gold, then you would subtract 2, which is -1, and then you'd actually be paying the guy to take it. So yeah, there is a chance that you could pay the guy to take the pet,
but it might be worth it for the victory points. So
after that, in the last round, you can sell 1 pet to each of the customer because there's 2 customers, but only 1 from a platform. So in round 5, you can only sell from the platform 1 of the pets.
Right. So all that's saying is that once you get the 2 customers, pick the one that's going to score you. Whichever one scores you the most, use that one from the platform.
And that's it for the selling part. Next is discard the assigned cards. So actually, the cards over here, we weren't supposed to discard them until now.
Yeah, I was just cleaning stuff up. I didn't, because if you noticed, I was still doing comparisons, but we didn't have any of this stuff out, so I hope that doesn't confuse anybody. We're just doing examples here. Yeah, so
after you sell, you would discard all the assigned cards, and the potions will go back to the hospital. After that, using unused imps. If you have any unused imps, they can either clean a cage, which is 2 poops out of the cage per imp, or they can earn a gold. So if you have leftover imps, either they'll give you a gold or they'll remove 2 poops per imp. And that's it for the business phase. So finally, the last phase is aging. For aging pets, there's a window on the right of the pet that shows what to do. The ones left over in town only go up one.
Which
you mentioned
before.
it.
Yeah.
If you own the pet, like the little spider dude, he has 2 arrows going up. If he was in your cage, he would grow 2 sizes.
Yep.
After that is you age the food. So any food that you have on your player board, you will remove all the food in the rightmost box. So that's the expired food. And then any other food that you have will be moved 1 to the right. So that shows that the food is aging. After you deal with the food, imps return home. So all the imps, except ones on the platform and the hospital, will go back to your board.
Right.
And then move the imps on the platform to the right. So this is the part where Mickey was saying how they would move over to the right.
If they were there, or there wouldn't be 2 colors, but however many of the red was there, this is at the time, if he didn't get used, because you could actually declare a platform sale the same turn that you did it.
Yeah.
Say that he didn't though, now it slides. Like Jeb said, anything that went to the hospital stays in the hospital, those guys stay there.
Yep. And then after that, you will move your exhibition minion back to 0. So they would have been like up there, they'd all go back to 0. And that is the end of the, well, yeah, that's the victory, but whatever. That's the end of the 6th phase, aging. So at the end of the round...
I'm messing Jeb up.
At the end of the round, this is what you do. You will move your progress token. So that's the purple token up top to the next round. Move the starting player clockwise for the final round.
This is this, and somebody else gets to go to be the tiebreaker or whatever you want to call it.
For the final round, the player with the lowest reputation is the one who is the starter
first. Yep, that's kind of interesting too. I like that.
Yeah, and then the last thing is the end of the final round is scoring.
Which is this stuff.
We would do the scoring at the end of the game. Okay, which end of the game? There's the final scoring. There are 2 exhibitions. They're scored separately. No one gets the +2 bonus because down here there's the +2 thing. Nobody would get that bonus for this final scoring. If the exhibition score is negative, you lose 1 point for each point under 0. So if you're negative, that's going to hurt you. And then whoever has the most reputation points wins the game. It's a lot.
It's a lot, but it's like none of this stuff is really hard. It's just it is a lot of explaining, and once you see the board and you like, if you watch, I bet if you watch us play, if you continue here and watch us play two rounds,
you'll know.
You'll know.
Yeah, I think that's how most of the games we play are. It's just explaining it is a mouthful.
That's because we haven't put Twilight Imperium on though.
You're giving the viewers ideas that are bad.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
All right, so that's everything. What we'll do is set everything up off camera.
We'll wake up Kim and Haley.
Yeah.
I'm awake. I wasn't earlier, but right now I am.
She fell asleep through half of the explanation.
She just wants a cute pet. She could care less if she wins until Jeb gets out of her, and then she'll want to win.
She'll yell at me.
Snack you.
She'll yell at me if the little spider guy doesn't show up because she wants that.
You're gonna take it. You're gonna buy it.
All right, so we'll get the game set up, and we'll start a 4-player game of Dungeon Pets.